That's the ladder to climb up here. My gosh, I'm crawling still. Hi boys and girls, welcome back to my channel. Today I am visiting Penang War Museum. This museum is the largest open air museum, the largest war museum also in Southeast Asia, and it is a real fort built by the British in preparedness for World War II. So I'm always fascinated about the history of World War II in Penang and how Penang fell to the Japanese Imperial Army during World War II. So let's check this place out. I'm the only person in the museum at the moment. So as I said, this place was built by the British in 1930s, and when the Japanese took over, they make this place as a, interrogation place, and then it was abandoned after World War II, totally abandoned. And until 2002, a local citizen called Mr. Johari, he was the one who turned this place into a museum. And thanks to Mr. Johari, we can relive the past history, which I think we should not forget, the history of World War II and what it has done to the island of Penang and its citizens. The Allied garrison of Penang, commanded by Brigadier C.A. Lyon, was mostly stationed in the Batu Maung Fort, now Penang War Museum. The fort, which was built by the Royal Engineers in the 1930s, was designed to defend both Penang Island and the Royal Air Force base in Butterworth on the Malay Peninsula. Penang Island was subsequently declared a fortress in 1936. However, by 1941, only two 6-inch batteries were installed. Crucially, no aircraft defense were completed. After the Japanese surrendered to the Allies forces in 1945 and consequent withdrawal from Malaysia, the fortress was left to the jungle until 2002. The buildings and evacuation structures are therefore preserved as they were in 1945. The complex is expensive and interesting. There are observation towers you can climb and underground evacuation tunnels you can shuffle through, as well as cannon firing bays, sleeping quarters, trenches, and more. Covering 20 acres of land, there is a lot to see. Within this setting, there is an electric collection of objects from the time period too. Particularly interesting are the photographs of Georgetown streets after having been bombed by the Japanese. So this bunker and tunnel were kept in original condition. Even the ceiling and everything you see here, it's very, very original. I think they're just putting up some old pictures of Penang for exhibition purposes. And this bunker, when the door is shut, the air supply can be recycled. So that's the genius of this tunnel. This is the ammunition hoist, where they basically put their ammunition here and then they hoist it up to the ground. So I'm going through this 9-meter tunnel that is supposed to withstand bombings from the Japanese. And it's kind of very freakish here. The underground tunnels all over this place. And this is the anti-aircraft pit, escape route to the top. We're supposed to climb over it. It's a 7-meter crawl, 9-meter climb. So I'm literally crawling. I'm literally crawling. The ladder to climb up here. My gosh, it's a 9-meter climb. Gosh. Whatever you do, don't look down. Gosh. think this is where they play the pinball games here. So there's a pinball game here that some of the activities you can do at the War Museum. So here's the mortuary and the torture chamber this way next. Ah, there's a tour guide. So we have here relic with tree. This unique structure as seen today was used as a storeroom by the Japanese soldiers. So they use this as a storeroom. We're not allowed to go in anymore, but they are using it as a storeroom. I don't know what they store here, but oh, they stored bodies in here. So they used to store stuff and also bodies. And later on, the storeroom was turned into a mortuary. Oh. This is where they store their foods and supplies for the British and later on by the Japanese. Those who've fallen on all sides, I think. World War II, World War II, the Siam-Burma Death Railroad, Malayan emergency, Indonesian confrontation. So this is the guillotine place, and this is where supposedly the famous Japanese executioner, his name is Suzuki, and he used to dip his sword in the dripping blood from his sword into his wine bottle. And this belief was captured people who would not raise their arm against the Japanese army. So just to scare them off. The power generator room, but again, it's like filled with a lot of, I won't show these pictures, but it's just filled with a lot of people that are tortured and raped and assaulted during World War II. This is a replica of Yamashita Gallows. And General Yamashita was the commander of the 25th Army Malaya and Singapore, and was an international hero in Japan. The tour continues here. I think I'm the only person here, so I will definitely wear a mask if I see someone near me. Oh gosh. It's another quarter. So these are British Army quarter of other ranks. And also for the Commonwealth soldiers, this is where they live. Let's go down here and see. So this room they converted into an exhibition for the prisoner of war, mainly the British and the Commonwealth troop taken prisoner by the Japanese Imperial Army during World War II and the suffering that they had to endure during their captivation. And this is where so here we are at the lockup jail room. This is where they keep the prisoners. Oh, it's very eerie here. And this is where they keep prisoner of the local people who are who they suspect of, having opposition against the Japanese army.
place here. These buildings are so old. Oh, look at that. What that symbol is. Or are Malay or are one. It's the bunkers area. It's an eerie room. So this is the living quarter for the Malay local army, and it has a shower, lavatory, it's all here. I don't know why they put all these tree branches in here. Well, I must say it's very interesting so far. I mean, this is a living, breathing museum. This is where actual events happen. Where, I mean, the British built it, they didn't use it, but the Japanese certainly did, and they used this to interrogate people, to imprison the local community. But this place is just very eerie. And to think that it was abandoned for so many years, I think almost 60 years it was abandoned before Mr. Johari turned it into a museum. And I'm glad he did. Certainly learned a lot, and I'm glad that they have preserved this fort into a museum. This is a very, very important part of the history of Penang. And I hope lest we forget about all these atrocities. I mean, I'm very, very surprised that the British, especially Lieutenant General Percival, he decided just to abandon Penang and left for Singapore. And his reason was to concentrate resources in Singapore. But I think when they lost Penang, half the battle is really over. I hope you come and visit this place and learn about the history of Penang during wartime. I've been to the World War I tour in Belgium and the War Remnants Museum in Vietnam. So if you want to check that video out, I'll have that link here. Until my next video, stay healthy and stay safe. Bye.